welcome. It's Sue with Get Sold, and I wanted to share some insights with you today. I released an old video today. I wasn't sure if I wanted to, but I had to tell myself, you have to be true to yourself. You made this commitment, good or bad, for better or worse, that you're going to speak whatever it is you needed to speak. And a lot of times, it takes me a while. It'll take me hours to make a post, to make sure I've chosen the right words in the right order. Very difficult for me to translate how I feel into words. Very difficult. And sometimes it comes easily, rarely. And sometimes it doesn't. So sometimes I feel like some of my videos just like, but I made a promise to my guides and to myself that no matter what, I keep talking, and the stuff that doesn't need to be heard won't be. The stuff that might need to be heard will be. But I had an intensive healing the other day, which really brought me back to center. It was extremely emotional. How do I say this? I've been, over the last few years, and more intensely, been emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, just knocked out of whack. Imbalances, energy shortages and drainages, being, hovered around by these negative entities, kind of to wake me up. But nothing was working, and I was just getting weaker. And I know it's important to talk about the story, but not be in it. But I sometimes can't find the words to be on both sides of it. To be on one side, okay, here's my story, and, a lot of people have worse experiences, but this is just my experience, and I still have to process it the way a human being processes it. And then the spiritual side is, don't stay in it. They tell you, as a healer, it's just part of what you chose to do, to learn. And so it's almost like discounting the human side, even though the other side of the, spiritual camp will say, oh, no, you still have to validate the story. So it's like a mishmash of information until I could finally get to my core, until I could finally remember the parts of me I was missing, the parts of me I had to remember. Like, we're all going through this process, but it's kind of like you're seeing it in real time with these videos. But this healing was incredibly immense. Some pretty heavy-hitting power spirits came through to help me to cleanse my energetic field, to reboot my system, to shine my light brighter, because apparently what I was doing all these years was, it was almost like you get hit once, you cower, you keep getting hit, you just want to roll up in a ball and go in a corner and say, just leave me alone. I don't want to do this anymore. But unfortunately, that's not the task, because in other lifetimes, I know I've been a warrior. I know I've been, a powerhouse. But it's like, when you live a lot of lifetimes, and we all do, you do get a little run down. So my light was shrinking, and I had all these, blessed spiritual people around me, close to me, that I'd meet one by one, kind of like, hey, alerting me to different things that was going on all levels. And so I literally was to the point where I'm just, begging, I need help. I can't go on anymore like this. I'm drained of everything. I'm not producing anymore. I'm not even creating anymore. Like, what am I doing here? I'm just floating. Part of it is the new age stuff, or shall I say, not new age. I don't like that word anymore. I don't want to judge it. I'm just saying I prefer enlightenment, or something like where we're headed as a humanity. We're all going through these changes, and it's all on those levels, all the levels. You're waking up to your spiritual side. I already knew I was spiritual, but I had forgotten, my unique signature of soul, personality, or whatever you want to call it. And so I was going downhill fast. So this particular healing put me back on track. I almost thought about canceling or deleting that video that I posted earlier today from November. Like, well, do I really need to still talk about those things? Maybe I do, maybe I don't. Maybe that depends on what people need out there, like, how they're doing in their personal stories of trauma or just getting through every day. I don't know. I really don't know. And now that I've been reconnected to myself, maybe it's not as important. And maybe I'm still just trying to find all that out. Maybe I'm just trying to find out whether it is important to talk about the story from a non-victim perspective. I don't know. But I will say this. Even though I've been exposed to the best of the best for healers, and the point is not judgment in our society, in our world, because the dark is teaching us. We just don't have to stay in it. But the dark is the chaos. And out of the chaos comes creativity, comes life, comes new. So it's almost, but where I have difficulty is where it's stupid, where it's just, we're exposing ourselves, we're exposing our children to things out of stupidity, no filters, and how it hurts children when they start to grow up into injured adults who have misguided notions on the things I've talked about porn, about exposing children to, sexual situations and all that. I know some of it is going to be soul contracts, but why do we have to be negligent as a society? Why do we have to just be like completely the other direction and go, oh no, we don't need filters anymore? It's the corporations that are doing this, but we're sitting back going, I found out on my Instagram that unless I say I don't want explicit stuff, it's going to send it to me via AI, and then I have to manually stop it. So what are these kids doing? They're fishing around looking for stuff. And it's basically only providing one view of things, just like what I got when I was 9 years old. One view. And I don't want to go on a tirade about this. All I want to say is that we need to think about people like me who came through trauma, who came through, body dysmorphic disorders of living in sheer hatred for an entire life. Yes, that was my soul contract. Yes, it was for me to figure out and get through. But why do we have to blanket? Now it's worse than ever. I mean, worse than ever. Like I've said before, we didn't have this blatant access to these images that degrade people. And I never used to think anything bad of it. I was just like, hey, I want to be in that industry. Because I didn't have any other sides of myself to look at, to feel good about. So what are we doing to our kids? Am I the only one that feels this way? I was never conservative my entire life. I was just like, hey, if it feels good, do it. But as you grow, you learn, you see what feels right, what doesn't. I saw where my triggers lied, which was in the images that I saw when I was 9. So are we going to keep doing this? We just turn a blind eye to the movies? I remember after I had some surgery, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, there was an extremely vile movie on TV, and I'm like, how many kids are coming home from school and just, boop. It was violent, sexual, way above. It should have been shown at midnight or something for adults only. But our kids have access to everything. Is that all soul contracts? No, that's degradation of humanity. That's like looking the other direction because you're so busy on your phones or doing something else that you're not bothering to look at what these kids are exposed to now. Like, I was the exception when I was young. Today, all the kids. I mean, I don't know. Does this make us feel good to do this to children? To confuse them? To stimulate them? To give them bad body images? Is this what we want? For them to fight harder out of the jungle to become a self-loving human being and soul? Why do we have to make the journey harder for them? Why? I don't know. I guess that's just my thoughts for today. But I am doing better. I am coming into center. I am starting to remember the better parts of myself, the stronger parts, brightening my light, and the videos will change into a more self-empowering state. So thank you for being with me. Thank you for listening. And just sending out love. It's what I know as a crystal child, one of the early crystal children, but I have been beat up quite a bit. But we're not going to focus on that. We're going to focus on healing, 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 shining light brighter, unconditional love, and getting through this stuff, helping our children heal from what they don't even know they have to heal from yet. Because we got to change as a society. We got to be more loving. We do need the dark to teach us, but then we do need to integrate it, period, because that's where we're going. If you want to stay in the dark, go hitchhike to another planet. We all want better. Love you all.